Warm welcome once again to all our guests joining from all around the world for another exciting seminar. I, Dr. Vinod Kumar from Symbiosis Institute of Business Management, Pune, and Dr. Anabel Gutierrez from University of London feel honored and privileged to moderate 8th seminar in the third edition of the seminar series on the digital future for business and society, emerging perspective on the metaverse. This seminar series is hosted jointly by Professor Yogesh Kumar Dwivedi, who is Professor of Digital Marketing and Innovations and Founding Director of Digital Futures for Sustainable Business and Society Research Group at School of Management, Swansea University, Wales, UK. Next, we have Laurie Hughes. He is a senior lecturer within Strategic Operation Group and founding member of the Digital Futures for Sustainable Business and Society Group at School of Management, Swansea University, Wales, UK. Uh, and we also have Professor Ramakrishnan Raman. He is currently Director, Symbiosis Institute of Business Management, Pune, Dean, Faculty of Management, Symbiosis International Deemed University, Director, Strategy and Development, Symbiosis. Our entire seminar series is jointly supported by Digital Marketing and Analytics, SIG Academy of Marketing, Green Nobel, IAE Graduate School of Management, Green Nobel, INP School of University of Green Nobel, ELBS, the E-Business and E-Government SIG British Academy of Management, the UK Academy for Information Systems, UKAIS. To tell you something briefly about the seminar series, emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, Internet of Things, and the metaverse undoubtedly offer transformative potential for the augmentation and potential replacement of human performed tasks and activities within a wide range of industrial, intellectual, and social applications. The impact and widespread adoption of these technologies is likely to be transformational within sectors ranging from agriculture, finance, healthcare, manufacturing, retail, supply chain, logistics, and utilities. The seminar series on the digital future for business and society, emerging perspective on the metaverse, will present various perspectives from a number of leading experts, speakers to highlight the opportunities and challenges posed by the rapid emergence of the metaverse. The seminar series will not only offer a timely and thought provoking insight into the metaverse, but also its impact on the future of business, management, and societal factors impacted by growth, direction, and widespread adoption of this new immersive technology. So, today we have with us an eminent thought leader, Professor Stephen Koos, who will share his thoughts on the topic the individual in the virtuality, legal aspects of the metaverse. To tell you something about our speaker, Professor Stephen Koos worked as at Department of Economics and Management, Bundeswehr, University Munich, Germany. He is holder of the Chair of Private Law and International Business Law at Bundeswehr, University Munich. He is also visiting professor at law faculties of several universities in Indonesia. He is author of books and commentaries on competition law and conflict of laws. His current research interests lie primarily in the aspect of the digitization of the law. A very warm welcome to you, sir. And without any further ado, I would request you to take over and address our audience for today.
Good afternoon, good evening from Jakarta to all the audience. It's an honor to me that I can speak today here and can present you something. Let me share my slides with you. Today, I would like to speak about a quite complex topic, of course, and we don't have much time. So I will only be able to share some, for me, important aspects of the topic. Which are mostly focusing on the social and global impacts of technologies. This is my main interest, not so much the details of the regulation, because for me, to be honest, the metaverse, I must be honest, I cannot really say that I can foresee whether the metaverses or the metaverse is really has a chance of realistical realization. But even if this is then it is at least an interesting utopic topic. And so let's maybe start about that. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I want to focus on three main questions. First question is, does the virtualization change the understanding of the protection of privacy and private data? I have my own idea about the need of protection by the law. And this is also linked to my opinion about that the importance of the law might diminish, might go away with the grade of digitalization. Second, who are we really in the virtual space, about the personality? And third, this is the most difficult aspect, so I cannot make it very deep. Does the concept of ownership and property rights needs to be reconsidered? This is especially important, but especially difficult because we are having a lot of participants from common law countries, and I come from civil law country, and already the concepts of the property are not comparable or totally easy comparable. So let's start with this. For me, maybe the simplest question, the individual under observation. This is not only a question for the metaverse, but it is also a question for the augmented reality, because we are virtualized, we are observed, but of course in metaverses we are even more observed, because we move there and we are totally embedded in this surrounding. Actually the question of the privacy is almost not thinkable that we can really handle that in the way as we understand privacy protection nowadays. This is a general problem in the digitalization, that the privacy protection is still very prohibitive. If you see the data protection regulation in the European Union, for example. But on the other side, we can see that this is almost not enforceable by states. A part of the state is very powerful, or a bloc is very powerful, and can force the actors like the platforms to observe or to comply with the rules. So this is maybe a need for a pragmatization, and this pragmatization is already showing in the powerlessness of the platforms to guarantee or to make sure that their products are not infringing rights. So we see here, this is a sheet of Google, don't be a glass hole, because of course they know that people would use these augmented reality glasses to observe people, and you can imagine what we can do with that. And so they say, don't be a glass hole. So it's a call for being responsible and using the technology responsible, and it shows everything what I want to say. It is responsibility of the individual how we in the future can handle that. This is symptomatic for the crisis of the legal protection of territorial states in the future. And if we search for a solution, then maybe we should accept that this strict protection is not longer enforceable. So this is a decision of 1983 from the German Constitutional Court. It's a very famous decision, the Volkszählungsurteil, is about the census of the people at Germany. And in that time, the people were upset about that. So the state is asking the population what they earn, what is their salary, what is their family situation. Oh, we are people from glass. Anybody can know everything. But nowadays, people handle the platforms, they post their families, they post intimate things, and almost nobody cares. This is this paradox. People know the platforms have a lot of options, a lot of possibilities to use their data, their pictures, their information about them, but even more they share the information. So this is maybe we must accept that the protection of the individual in the digital world is not so important anymore for the individual, which is to protect. And this is one question. Maybe we must pragmatize the protection law. Another aspect, and this is a very interesting aspect for me, the personality in the virtual space. This is, of course, not only a legal question. This is also a sociological question, psychological question. That's why I do these presentations in various faculties, not only in legal faculty, law faculties. The legal relevance of the avatar, for example, is one of the most important aspects. Yeah, in the around 2010, 2011, 12, something about that. An assistant of mine wrote an article about online games and what's about the swords, the items, and the avatars in online games, in role play games. And that was the time when in the eBay, Chinese players hired swords for certain online games. And the question is, can you buy a sword of this monster or this dwarf, your avatar? Can you maybe sell the avatar? And we analyzed that. And of course, first of all, this is a platform, and the relation between the user and the platform is a contractual relation. This is not an absolute right which is valid against anybody. So this is not comparable with the absolute right of the property, of the ownership. So this is just a contractual relation. So the platform user, the platform owner can switch it off, and then the avatar is away and the sword is not there anymore. You use the platform in a contractual situation. But we already differentiated the avatar from the item. The item you find, the sword you find to fight against your enemies in this online game, this is just an item which is given by the contractual partner, by the platform. But the avatar is filled up with personality of the person who plays. People play hours and hours, maybe months, and they communicate in this game situation, and so they get a personality. You can see that already in other platforms, yeah. So in forums, so you have an idea about the person who is talking with you, and then you see the photo of that person, and you were totally surprised that this person looks totally different. So this means the avatar cannot that easy be understood as a mere contractual item which is not protected. It takes part in the protection of the personality. And another aspect is that today I can be this one on the left side, and tomorrow I can be the evil koala. Would you trust me? I mean, would you trust this koala? Would you trust that guy? I can be evil, I can be good, I can decide tomorrow be good, after tomorrow evil again. And this is a problem for the metaverses, because the avatars can change. The avatars are fluctuant.
Yeah.
And
so the slides are not moving if you're sharing the slide.
not moving.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. So sorry to interrupt. I'm very sorry to interrupt.
So yeah. I stop it and share again. I hope it will work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works. I have no idea why.
Yeah,
Can you see my actual slide now?
Yes. Now it's working.
Okay. I hope, please give me a sign when it's again not moving. I cannot do anything. I have the normal Zoom here, and I have my notebook,
Right.
and I go on with my slides. So I hope it works. So the avatar needs a protection, and it needs a protection even more if we move in the metaverses, and we have to move in the metaverses because we have no other remedy than to participate in metaverses in the far future. And so the avatar needs, actually, it needs a fundamental right of free development of personality in the virtual reality, the right to avatar. Because it is participating in this personality function. Freedom from being objectivized. You cannot use the avatar as a platform for making advertising for yourself. Freedom from being controlled. Freedom from being manipulated. That is a further development of the dark pattern idea, yeah? So that the avatar could be manipulated, also manipulated by algorithms in AI algorithm. AI algorithm can involve and use the avatar while you are sleeping, and your avatar is moving around and does something you cannot control. Also the shaping function. I have the right to shape my avatar, to give it appearance and impression, to create a virtual personality. But this is already a problem, because if I have a virtual personality, then what is with the trust of other people against me when they communicate with me? If I can choose tomorrow another personality than today, and we all know that people in forums sometimes behave very bad, even if these people normally in the real life would not behave like that. Yeah, so this is dangerous for societies. Can you see the next slide, or is it stuck
Yes,
again?
sir. Yes, sir. We can see the
Yeah.
next slide. Please carry
So
on.
so this is the main aspect, the ambivalence of the person in the virtuality. Avatars do not necessarily represent the user's behavior in the real world. So the question is, should the virtual world be a totally separate virtual world with separate rules? So we discussed that when the internet came up, right? So we have internet law, and we have the internet society, and the internet society is totally different from the state law regulations. And so this is one question. Then avatars can, of course, be multiplied, they can replace, they can change at will, they are potentially fluctuating, and even more dangerous, avatars can be controlled by artificial intelligence or manipulating personal avatars, or just an artificial avatar just controlled only by AI with no person behind that, and with bot systems, AI bot systems, they can communicate with us, and we will maybe not notice we are not talking with a person in the metaverse. We are talking with an avatar, but we're talking with an AI, with an algorithm. And this posed the problem of the transparency of social behavior, or simulated behavior by AI. Yeah, this because the AI cannot behave. This is a simulated behavior, which is a trust problem. It's a problem for trust as a factor for human societies. And the law is based on trust, interpersonal trust and systemic trust. We trust in the legal system, and we trust in our counterpart. I would not make a contract if I would not know who you are, more or less. Sometimes I go the risk. I don't know much about you, but maybe you're sympathetic. I make the contract, but at least I can be sure that tomorrow you are the same. Maybe you are a criminal, or maybe you're not criminal, but I can decide whether I want to trust you or not. But if I don't know who is behind you and who will be the next person tomorrow, then I cannot trust. So the whole system of contractual law, the whole system of preventive conduct of people's behavior in society is in danger here. This is very problematic. So it is not yet clear how the law could capture this ambivalence of the person in the simulation of persons by AI in hybrid real and digital societies. This is a big problem for the system of the law. And my idea is anyway, this is just a symptom. My idea is anyway that with the digitalization, with the further digitalization, the importance of the law will diminish, yeah, not necessarily diminish. I hope you see the next slide. The development of metaverse depends on the shaping of verified digital identities. Yeah, so if we want to have at least a little bit trust in these surroundings, we need verified digital identities. Whether they are obligatory or whether they are optional, this is another question. And how to do this? There is, in my opinion, not a big chance for obligatory globally verified digital identities, because this is based on territoriality, sovereignty of states. Some states will say not necessary. Other states will say, yeah, we need that. Other states want maybe to over-control their citizens. So this is difficult, but we could think about opt-in solutions. So companies who want to sell something to people, to civil people in the metaverse, must have trust, so they have a verified identity because they want to have that. And it is my own will whether I trust an avatar without that or not. Until today, we buy things maybe in Instagram, we don't know the seller and we just risk it. Yeah, so this is my own risk. So this is my responsibility. So this is a rather facultative trust factor in interactions with avatars. So we would have rather see a self-responsibility of digital actors than legal protection. This is another aspect, yeah, but I said again, the pragmatization of the law. Maybe we need to pragmatize it because we cannot control, and the law which cannot be enforced properly is not a good law, because it leads to an erosion of the law. Ubiquity instead of territoriality, which we have already in the internet, makes it dependent on the platforms and the operators, whether they integrate safety elements or not. So of course we can put safety elements in the metaverse platforms, but how we force the global platforms to do that? So what happens if an avatar kills another avatar or steals a token artwork in your virtual property? Yeah? How we enforce criminal law, how we enforce order, state order. Of course, yeah, we could delegate states' power to the platform, so the platform would enforce criminal law of states, but whose state law the platform will enforce? We see already a big diversity of ideas, what the law should forbid and what not. Yeah, here in Indonesia, everything is forbidden what is just smelling like sex pornography or so. Germany is very liberal. In US, again, they don't want to see any naked person, but they allow the denial of the Holocaust, yeah, which for good reason in Germany is forbidden. Yeah, so will this platform, this big global platform, enforce exactly German law or European law, Indian law, US law, Chinese law? We don't know how to force that. Of course, we can see in a moment that the Data Protection Regulation Act of the European Union is widely enforced factually. But why it is enforced? Not because of the international law or because of the value of the law. It is enforced because of political and economical power, because the platforms follow the law because they want to sell their products in our markets. And so they follow our law. They fulfill the regulations mostly. Yeah. So this is a power aspect. And this is also interesting. We replace the international law or replace the law by a political power principle. And this is, I call the crisis of international law, actually. And one sociological aspect is very interesting. We have an equalizing effect on legal, cultural, and moral aspects of societies. Legal is clear because the law of the strongest blocks will maybe be the law which will be enforced in the global platforms, in the metaverse platforms. Cultural and moral aspects of societies also. I tell the people here in Indonesia in conferences or in seminars, okay, you don't want that your children see something which is not halal. This is understandable from your point of view, but how you want to protect your children if they move in the metaverse and go to strip clubs, virtual strip clubs, how you want to do that. So in the future, maybe it will depend on the will of cultures, on the wish of cultures to keep their own idea about what is moral, what is ethic, what is their own cultural moral. Yeah. So if the culture is not willing to keep that, then we will have a globalized culture. It will be an equalizing effect. This is just this assumption of mine. And this can also lead to a negative aspect, the cold harmonization of the law, because if we only follow the legal rules of certain strong states, maybe like US, then maybe well-founded regulations or rules in other states will fall down. They will not be fulfilled anymore. Yeah? The more people move in these digital societies. Some other aspects I can only mention very short is, of course, first of all, the transparency aspect, the interaction with human or AI avatar. I must know, do I interact with an algorithm or with a person? And we already know, studies about that, I'm sure. Yeah, in the marketing, I think there are also studies how people believe the bots. We can already see there are studies that children tend to make communication and dialogues with bots, with AI bots, as if they were their friends. They don't notice even, that these bots are AI, or AI written news texts are more believed than human written news text. This is very interesting. So this is dangerous. We need a fundamental right of access to platforms. Just make a metaverse and talk about then we have labor surroundings there, and we have social contacts there. This is not worth it, as long as platforms can say you will not enter our platform. So this means the privacy of the platform owners must be lower. It cannot, they cannot decide about in contractual relation with the users whether the user can enter and use the surrounding or not, because this is an asset. This is an essential asset for the human existence, for the social existence in the future. Then, and very interesting. I learned about that just new. Neuro rights. Yeah, we have already this. I mentioned that this question of dark patterns, so manipulating of people by certain psychological tricks in the advertising. People do something they actually don't want to do that. And the next step will be, I read that AI can already at least a little bit read in the brain what people think about. So it can make pictures. You think about a horse, then it paints you a horse and people can see there is a horse. If we connect the brain with these items or with platform or with AI or with our avatar existence, then we manipulate the brain. And this is an issue which is addressed already by the first states. Chile has already, I think, made a law for that, amending that. And the European Union is start to discuss that. Neuro rights, a right to mental integrity, mental immunity, and cognitive freedom. This is, of course, connected with the metaverse, because people move there and are object of platforms and can be manipulated. Also, the more we connect our brain, our person with the virtual existence. This is a constitutional question. This all shows that it is all hanging on the responsibility question. Who is responsible for what? Who is responsible for acting of avatars? Who is responsible for acting of AI avatars? Will there be free roaming avatars which are developing themselves in the metaverse and harming people? Who will be responsible for that? It's the same question, who is responsible for the self-driving car or for algorithms which manipulate markets? Who is responsible? Who should be responsible? Is it the platform? Is it the user? In the data protection, we have in the European data protection law the tendency that the user is responsible if you use augmented reality glasses and then you do something which is against the privacy. This is a very, very, very difficult question in the future, and we will have to come away from these guilt principles or voluntary principles, more to a principle that responsible should be the one who is the most able to avoid dangers. This is, I think, for economists also can be calculated in the economical analysis of law, maybe, yeah, who should be the responsible. So the lowest avoider, the lowest risk avoider, the cheapest risk avoider who can insure something. And the responsibility is also linked to the question how the law can regulate risks and how the law can distribute risks to whom. And we already mentioned that the interpersonal trust will lose relevance. Smart contracts is a good sign for that. The smart contract, we will have that in the metaverse. The smart contract is executing automatically. I don't need to trust you. And if you are infringing my copyright or my picture in the internet and you are from India, from China, and from Germany, I don't have to go to a court anymore, because the smart contract will detect that and will automatically send a cyber currency to my wallet. Without that, I have to enforce it. Of course, then the disputes will shift to the programming. So this is product responsibility. Yeah, trust in security and control by technology will diminish. The trust in the law, sorry, will diminish. We will have trust in security and control by technology. This is already described in the 80s by Niklas Luhmann, who said, if a society is not able or willing to protect the citizens from the dangers of certain danger, then the society will look for alternative security. or alternative means for security. And that is happening in the moment because we are searching for blockchain technology, smart contracting, AI filter of uploads, and so on and so on. So this is all diminishing the factor of the human being in the control of what happens in the world. Yeah, and this is very interesting, and that will grow. Automatization and determinism instead of incentives for compliance and of law enforcement. Of course, if we have more and more algorithms doing the things and not behaving, how we want to give incentives. The algorithm cannot have incentive. The algorithm cannot be afraid of something, of punishment. So this will change the whole basis of the law and how we conduct and how we control societies. And the loss of the constitutional basis of the private law by abandoning concepts like the freedom concept of the private autonomy. Of course, private autonomy, I can make contract with whoever I want, with about what I want. This is an expression of freedom. This is constitutional freedom. But if AI is contracting and we just give certain rules for the AI to contract, then we need alternative instruments, contractual instruments. This takes away the constitutional basis as we have it, and this is diminishing of humanism. So the constitutional law in the digital globalization might capitulate. Yeah, so you can read that in my papers in the ResearchGate. Non-law expert. So this is a communication science expert, journalism, I think, a colleague of mine from Bavaria. He talked about the responsible non-competence as a problem of ethics in the digital society. This means when Mr. Zuckerberg was asked, what happens in your platform? Do you feel responsible? He said, yes, of course I'm responsible. This is my platform. But what can I do? Yeah, the technology, I cannot control the technology and cannot control what all these people do on the platform. So responsible, but actually not responsible. We cannot go on with that. So we need to think about responsibility of the platforms before we develop the metaverse and make it a comprehensive life space for all people, where we even force people to go. If we think companies would force their employees to work online in these metaverses with their avatars. The last question is, and I will make it short, the last question is ownership and virtualization. This is connected with the tokenization question and the blockchain technology. And again, I said that already, we cannot just compare papers from US with the situation in civil law systems like continental law system, like your German law system, because the property concepts are different. Already when we compare different states in European Union is not so easy. This is the RuneScape case. Some young people forced a boy to give away the password, and then they stole all his virtual money in this RuneScape online game and also his items, and that was qualified as a theft in the Dutch criminal law. In the German criminal law, that would not work. So this is very difficult to talk about that before we have not the right basis. Do we talk about the civil law or not? In the civil law, this is a very difficult aspect. Normally from marketing part, from economists, from IT, you can see in the television often reports about there is the new world. Anybody can now the owner of the Mona Lisa, with the tokenization, everything is totally new, and this is democratization of property and so on and so on. These are journalists who have not made their law comparison in a proper way, because in the German law, this would not be possible. Yeah? Already the Bitcoin is not clear how we qualify that in the law. The German Federal Civil High Court said this is a realizable asset of its own kind, but it is not a thing, not a right on a thing. This is also not a intellectual property right. This is actually nothing we can qualify on the basis of our civil law. So what are tokens then? So the question is, if we have the metaverse and we acquire property there, and we acquire virtual furniture, virtual sneakers, virtual artwork, virtual pictures, and so on, then it's very easy to say, oh yeah, then we have a token and this is on the blockchain and it shows that you are the owner of that token. But if we want to translate it into the civil law or in the legal system as we have it, we must first qualify what the token is and what the token says to us in the legal way. And one thing is very interesting. With the tokenization, we can say the separation between material and immaterial rights is actually going more and more away. Because with the tokenization, I can make fix that a certain virtual chair is standing in the middle of a room, and I can make it fix that that chair is actually should be there always. So it will not be fluctuant. It will be maybe permanently. This is already very interesting. And we discuss already hybrid objects as property or hybrid objects in the copyright law. The question is how we translate it into the law. And many people don't know what legally is a token. Yeah, so this is the Beeple's picture. I'm sure you know or you heard about that. That was sold, I think, for $63 US. But what was acquired? What was bought by the new owner of that Beeple picture? It was not the copyright. It was not a license. It was not even a picture, which is material. It was just a token. But what he bought for the 63 million here? In an article of a colleague of mine in Germany, I read an interesting comparison. Imagine you are the owner of the Mona Lisa, and you want that the Mona Lisa is for all eternity in the possession of the world and of the humanity. So you give this Mona Lisa to a museum, and you make a contract which says that not you nor your hair can take it away ever. So it will be always in this museum. You have not the right to borrow it for your home. When you make a party, you cannot do anything with that. But what you can do is you can go on the Sunday afternoon to the museum with your friends and can say, hey, look at that. That is my Mona Lisa. But what you have actually nothing. So you can say, I bought the token of the Beeple picture. This is actually in the law, nothing. If we want to use these tokens and use it in a hybrid world, so for example, as a parallel, could be imaginable that we have a metaverse room and I make a contract with you and I sell you my virtual picture, and that virtual picture hangs at home in my own home, and then I could make this transaction in the metaverse. But will this transaction have any effect in the real world? And that is only possible if the token is translated in the law. So the law must decide first, if you own the token, then you are the owner. Then you are the owner in the civil law or in the common law, whatever. In the contractual situation, you can, of course, say, I fulfill the contract by transferring the token in a metaverse room, and then I transferred the property of the real thing, which is represented by the token in the metaverse. But it is not possible as long the law is not deciding this is a representant in the law as we have it, or we need a tokenization law. This is my last slide, just to give you an idea. The very small Principality of Liechtenstein between Switzerland and Austria made a regulation already 2019 about tokenization, and they say if you transfer the token, you can transfer by transferring difference of the token, you transfer the property, the ownership of the thing which is representing it. And but it also says it is a token, and this token is representing under the law system of Liechtenstein. So we have again a territorial token, but this is of course not what we want in the metaverse, where we have ubiquity society. So how we translate it in ubiquity societies, this is a very different thing. And in the German law, we have also a start for that. We have the possibility to transfer securitizations by transferring on the blockchain. So we transfer the token, and it means we transfer the paper. But this must be regulated literally and expressively in the law. So we have a lot of work ahead. That was very fast, I know that. And there was a lot of aspects I had to cover. I hope it was not too fast. I hope we will have a little bit discussion. And what maybe should stay in your mind is this impact is far going beyond the question how we will advertise in the metaverse, or how we regulate this contract or that contract. It is changing our society, and we are in a very interesting time. I have a 5-year-old daughter. I'm not so sure if I'm not afraid about her future, but yeah, we have to know what comes up, yeah, whether we regard it as enemy or regard it as a friend. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an exciting and eye-opening seminar. So it was quite interesting. AI governed avatars is something that really opened my eyes, and even dark patterns is what I'm also trying to research on. That point you brought out, and even something's jurisdiction of so where the boundaries can be drawn. So that is something very interesting to ponder upon. Apart from that, who will be responsible in metaverse? So digitization and responsibilities should go hand in hand. So these challenges, really were wonderful that you pointed out. So even I had a question, sort of like. Because even a lot of transaction will be happening in this domain, so how they'll be taxed? So from taxation perspective also, there'll be some law perspective has to come. So would you like to talk about that a bit?
Sorry, again? Again?
Taxation perspective, because there will be earnings also maybe happening through metaverse. So any perspective on that how the income will be taxed in case of business, in case of individual?
About taxing, about tax?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I'm not an expert in the tax in tax law. That would be dilettantism if I talk about tax. But generally, tax is a territorial aspect as well, and this is very difficult to enforce territorial law. So, in my opinion, the sovereignty, which is basic for our legal systems. This is why we have conflict of laws. This is why we have double tax agreements and so on and so on. This sovereignty is diminishing with the digitalization, and with that future, if it really goes on like that, I don't know how to do that. We need, of course, the control of the taxable subject, and this is possible, for example, if a state is obliging someone to have a verifiable digital identity, and that one who has not a verifiable identity could be a delinquent. Yeah. So, but of course, how we control it in the future, there's also aspects of trusted third person identities and so on. But the details about the taxation, I cannot really talk about. I'm so sorry.
No, that's perfectly fine. So here are a few questions we have. With your kind permission, can I go ahead with the Q&A?
Yes.
Yep. Thank you. So Professor Galina from EDC Paris Business School, she recently attended a conference and presentation from law a person, and the question that he's asking is, how could it be possible to give legal capacity to an avatar in the metaverse? For example, the legal rights to represent a person, that is to sign, right? So your opinion on that you want to sort out?
Yeah, I know that there is a concept to solve the problem also of the difference between AI controlled and human controlled avatars by just giving all avatars legal capacity, which is differentiated from the legal capacity of the person which is represented by the avatar. This is a general question about the AI legal capacity, and AI legal capacity depending on whether you follow the fiction theories, which say, yeah, for pragmatical reason, we decide which has legal capacity. For example, I make a very stupid example. These earphones, yeah, sometimes people treat them bad, yeah, throw them away and so on. Maybe a nonsense legislator decide, we must protect that. Of course, you can make a law which says, Article 1, earphones are protectable legal subjects, and there are countries protect the nature, countries protecting the rivers, and so on and so on. Yeah, this is of course possible. It's very pragmatic, but if you follow the reality theories, then we need a certain substrate for legal capacity. And this is again, yeah, we don't want every erosion of the law. We want that the law is can be followed by the legal subjects. Yeah, so then we must think about, what makes the AI comparable to legal subjects? What makes the AI comparable to human? So if we talk about this little monkey from Borneo, which made that selfie, which is very famous, and Peter animal protection organization claimed in the US against the photographer whose photo was that actually, that this monkey should have the right of the copyright, should have the royalties from that picture. And the court said, yeah, the monkey has no legal capacity, but I would not have a big problem to say, yeah, a monkey can suffer, a monkey can have a wish, yeah, so why not make a parallel if it's useful for the law? But in the AI, I think we would really leave the basis of the whole law if we just say, yeah, the AI can act, yeah, and that's we make it simple, like a human being. Again, if you make it pragmatical, you can do that for a certain reason. But then, if the AI is acting and you want to make it for liability reason, how you want to make the AI liable? I mean, where is the liability substrate? I mean, from what should the AI pay? There are several models you can think about, pool models, yeah. So with any sold algorithm or item, there must be a certain amount of money going into a pool, and then we pay the damage from that, yeah. So the self-driving cars and so on and so on. But this is depending on the theory, and in the German, at least in the German company law and the German law of associations, this is not so easy if we follow the reality theory, because then you must have an ethic background why we make AI a legal subject. But in the avatar, if it's representing a person, there might be the parallel in the personality. But if we talk about the AI controlled avatar, it's difficult. This is my personal opinion about that. We must be very careful to not too simply integrate this kind of models into the grown law, because then we erode the law, because the law has a constitutional background. The personality, the contractual freedom, the freedom at all, the subjectivity is a question of the freedom of the individual, which is in our constitutions. This is the legal dignity, the human dignity. And if we just push that away and say, okay, now we have algorithms and let's make the algorithm for pragmatical reason like a human being, then we must deal with the fact that we have a totally new category of acting. And maybe the better way would be to find assignments of responsibility to human beings which are profiting from the use of the AI.
Right. That's a very elaborative answer, right? Justifying the question. So next we have a question from Professor Kapil Jain, and actually two questions. So I'll ask them one by one. So first is, what are your prediction about metaverse adoption, and what is your definition of metaverse? Extending it to, is the future is interconnected metaverses, or it's just the metaverse?
Oh, this is a discussion, yeah. this is a discussion. Maybe in a moment we talk about possible metaverses, because we have several platforms which prepare this, and the question will be whether they will be interchangeable and will be open to each other. So sooner or later, I think, honestly, I said it in the beginning, I am quite critical. I'm not so sure whether this is utopia and just science fiction or really comes. I'm not so sure that people really want that. If the people want that, and then I can imagine that we have separate metaverses which are growing together step by step, because as I mentioned, it cannot be dependent on private companies whether someone use the surrounding or not. If we all have to use the surroundings, then we need a more comprehensive and more general surrounding, and that means that we must come away from this separate contractual relation between users of a certain platform and the platform owners. So I think it will start with metaverses. Then in the future, if it really develops and the people really want that, then we will have one big internet, as we can call it the metaverse. Yeah. So in a moment, it will be several interconnected web pages, but 3D web pages in which we can move in all dimensions. Yeah. So as we move now in web pages, and then we can surf from web page to web page to web page, but in the future, then maybe one metaverse. And this is, predictions is always difficult, yeah, because I don't make any empirical study about that. I don't know, but what I read in LinkedIn and in papers is that people tend nowadays to say, this was just a hype, and the hype is going down just because Mr. Zuckerberg is not investing so much in it anymore. But the idea is there, and it's fascinating. Yeah? Maybe it starts with the gamers, and then it will go on. But how long that will take, I have no idea. I hope not too fast, because I'm not a fan of it.
Right, that's quite interesting. So here's another question, that is, are digital rights same as metaverse rights? For example, if someone have digital rights for FIFA, can they also be cast it in metaverse? So any opinion on that? Events?
In a moment, what happened in a virtual situation is nothing else than it happens in the internet. So if I infringe your rights in the real life by printing a book or printing a journal, I can infringe the right in the internet. This is the use of your intellectual property right. So if you have a cast, the right to cast something, or a soccer game or whatever, then it depending, of course, on the license, whether you can use it in the metaverse then or not. If the license is smaller, then you cannot. If the license is more general, it can. It is already actually, this is not a metaverse problem. This is a general problem. For example, we have a case from some court in Hamburg, district court in Hamburg, which had to decide about whether if you have the casting rights for soccer games, can you also do that in a ship, in a cruise ship? Which is going internationally. Yeah, this is a problem because actually you do it in abroad. Yeah, actually this ship is in international sea, or going to the United States, and then you use it on a German ship, but you use it not in Germany actually. Yeah. And the same happens here when you do it in the internet. That is ubiquity. That is, you cannot control. This is not on the ground of some state. So it depending on the license, how the license is done, how the license is made. Yeah. So if the license is very, very big, then you will have, most likely there will be separate licenses for using it in the metaverse, because that should be more expensive, because it can be used by anybody in the world moving around in these surroundings.
Yeah, concept of smart contracts was also, which got my attention during the discussion that you were mentioning about. Yeah. So next question that we have is, how we can differentiate metaverse from other platforms. What makes it different from others, from law perspective? What are your opinion on the same?
In the future, as I mentioned, we cannot. I mean, in a moment, I can decide whether I'm using Instagram or Meta or any platform, and if I cannot use it, or Twitter, if Mr. Musk does not want my opinion and he close my avatar, this is not a problem, right? So from the idea in the future, the platforms must be open, and so that one difference is that this platform cannot be just a private property of a platform owner. Yeah, this is a question of actually an expropriation. Yeah, because if these platforms grow and if they become comprehensive for anybody necessary to exist, then we cannot let it to the platform owners to just make money whenever they want and to throw out whoever they want. So this is the meaning for the individual is bigger than in the platforms. Basically, in the moment, these metaverses would be just, as I said, virtual surroundings which we use like web pages. So we, instead of visiting web page, we enter certain metaverse, a certain room, and then we look the products in this Nike selling room in the metaverse. Yeah. So this is basically just the experience of the customer in this 3D world is a different. Yeah. But if it grows together, then we have a categorical difference to the internet, because I'm not dependent on using a certain platform.
Right. So Mr. Mark also said the talk was very interesting, and one of the challenges that he would like to throw light on is the platform tech providers innovate at much faster rate than the law or policy. So are we not doomed to have deal with issues retrospectively? So can we change that? So that's the question is.
This is a general problem, of course. So this is why I'm so interested in this let's say, utopia law. When I was studying, I remember I found a dissertation, German dissertation about cloning, and or cloning pigs or monkeys with human genetical information and so on. And all my friends said, this is why he writes that. This is totally unimportant. Nobody can do that, and this is science fiction, and so on and so on. This is exactly the mistake law experts often do. They focus on problems we have at the moment without facing what comes up. Of course, we cannot foresee all. And if you see the AI, 2 years ago, I gave a lecture about cyber law in my faculty, and then I had a slide in which the European Commission says, yeah, there might be in the future a problem with generative AI, but we can deal with that with the law what we have now, because there is always a human being conducting something or programming it or deciding about what it does. Yeah. So for example, if AI is creative, and at the beginning of the year, I started to experiment with that ChatGPT, and I could not believe that, because the first version I used for my student last year was making, totally sorry to be direct, bullshit. I mean, what it wrote was interesting, but not really usable. And now it is. We discussed about how we can survive as lawyers in the future. What's happening with the truth in the future? How we can detect whether that is a lie or a fake news, which sounds very good, yeah. Or Angela Merkel is jumping into the pool with the Pope and so on. This is really. I told to my wife that be ready. Yeah. So 5 years later, we will not believe what we have here. I already don't believe it. So we are not fast enough, definitely, and I doubt we can change that. Yeah, because legislation needs time. Yeah, and actually, from the Popper's idea, the critical rationalism and this verifying and falsification, so we always must try. So I think legislation could just try, and then we check out whether it works or not, and then we come closer to the best solution. But we have always the problem of the killing of the innovation, as we see in the discussion about the AI Act of the European Union now, and the US also is preparing an act. How we want to control that. I mean, of course, we can define a lot of things, but then we define what is AI, and already we have a problem, because it means that AI like ChatGPT cannot be used anymore because it is potentially dangerous. So we have already a problem with the categories. That is why I say the law needs maybe more pragmatization. But of course, we cannot allow that the civilization is just without protection. The question is, how can legislation be enforced in the future? A world law is not in sight. And countries like Germany or Britain or Japan or Indonesia have no chance to enforce their law. If there is a chance to enforce law, then it's by the big blocs. China can do that, maybe European Union can do that, if we not get more XITs, and US can do that. Because, as I said, our markets are important, and the US have political power, the China has political power, they can enforce it, the companies will respect it. But if they stop to respect it, then we have a shift from the legislation of the states to the well-known West Coast Code, as Lessig call it. So the replacement of the East Coast Code in Washington, just from the American perspective, the legislation to the technology. And then we need protection, and the protection will be by technization, by blockchain. We will not trust the courts anymore. We will not rely on the courts anymore. Is a good thing. I don't have to go to Chinese courts and claim because of an infringement of my copyright by a Chinese user. So we have just an algorithm which detects that, and then the money will come directly from his wallet to my wallet, so without any court. This is the replacement of trust by technology, and then maybe it's not an issue with the legislation.
Right. So I have last questions from Professor Ansar from China. So he would like to know that how to protect our identity avatar in the metaverse, such like from harassment and such things. Yeah, very much related to what is already covered. Maybe a short description on the same.
Yeah. First of all, again, we need avatars. How we can decide harass us. Yeah, so we need it. The solution, one solution would be the legal subjectivity of avatars. Then we can just punish this avatar. How to punish an avatar? By switching off. Who switched it off? The platforms. Who forced the platform to switch off? Who defines the criminal delict, the harassment? Who defines what is harassment? States. And whose state will the platform follow? We don't know. Yeah, this is delegation of state sovereignty to platforms. We can maybe even to make a identifiability of avatars by giving avatars non-changeable tokenized aspects in the avatar. For example, you have a little parrot on your shoulder, and that is in the blockchain very clear that with that avatar it's me, and then we can identify someone. But basically, I think in the digitalization, in this further digitalization, we will be more and more dependent on self-responsibility. This is what I tell my students here in Indonesia, who even post their dead grandmothers in the coffin in the platforms, and their children. I don't post my child, yeah, because I know I cannot protect my child, the photo of my child, from being exploited by whoever, by platforms, by other individuals all over the world. And this means I must be responsible for me, because we must maybe accept that the state has limits to protect us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you for taking all those questions, Professor Stephen, and your precious time for such an insightful session. I'd like to pay many thanks to Professor Yogesh Kumar Dwivedi, Dr. Laurie Hughes, and Professor Raman for conceiving the idea of the seminar series and creating such a wonderful platform to discuss this contemporary theme, emerging perspective on the metaverse. So, I'd like to thank all the guests who have joined today from the globe. Last but not the least, I would like to thank Mr. Rajesh and his team for IT support. So, link for next seminar is already posted in the chat. So, please register for the next seminar. So, before we leave, I'd like to announce that the next seminar is scheduled on 2nd of August 2023, where Professor Varsha Jain from MICA Ahmedabad, India, will share her thoughts on opportunities and challenges of metaverse and marketing. So please, I request you to please mark the date on calendar and please register for next seminar. So that's all for today. Looking forward to see you all in the next seminar. Thank you once again. Have a great time ahead. Stay safe, stay healthy.